Good afternoon.
Hot mic.
I guess so. I won't talk so loud. I'd like to welcome everybody to the December 19th, 2024 Public Utility Advisory Board. Christina, would you call roll, please?
Brad Chance,
Here.
Anthony Jeremita,
Here.
Greg McGee,
Here.
Steve McLucky, Michael Talcott,
Here.
Les Boatright.
Here. And in your packet, you've got the minutes of the November 21st board meeting. Is there any changes, corrections? If not, looking for a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay, we've got a motion and got a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Okay, Christina, will you call roll on that, please?
Brad Chance,
Here. Yes, yes.
Anthony Jeremita,
I'm going to abstain since I wasn't here.
Greg McGee,
Abstain, that one there.
Michael Talcott,
Yes.
I was
Let's
here.
vote right.
I'll vote twice. I was here. All right, those have been approved.
actually that's not a quorum.
It's not a quorum.
No.
Okay. We'll have to wait till Mr. McLucky gets back, I guess, next month. We'll do it then. Just roll that one over. That's why I said I'd vote twice. I mean, I can do this. Okay, down to reports, finance and admin. Anybody have any comments, questions from the board on the financials or you all, the experts in the money? Anything that you should point out on the IPL or the?
I would say the only thing I would have to add is the finances are looking good and on projection, but we're a little bit probably high looking on the revenues because our expenditures are down, and we have about a $4.5 million transformer that we're finishing up the terms and conditions on for the substation S. So that'll be hitting probably this fiscal year. So that'll impact.
Sometime after the first year.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got a lot of other major capital projects that'll be hitting as well, so, but we're right on target, I would say.
I think at the January meeting, you might talk about some of the bigger hit capital items that you think are going to be coming up for the remainder of the fiscal year.
So actually, that was going to be my question. I don't really have any specific comments to call out on the financial reports, but previous boards have asked for an update on the capital project list that is also included with the financials. So if it is of interest to this board, I would propose we can give you an update of the listed projects at the January meeting, and then likely in the February, if not the March meeting, we would be bringing our proposed CIP for the next 6 years, primarily focused on next fiscal year, but as a part of that, there's always a 6-year outlook associated.
Yeah, I think that would be good to
Okay.
kind of refresh it, because sometimes we get that report and it's like your eyes glaze over, there's so much.
Right.
So if you could kind of talk through the items. that'd be
So
great.
for January, we'll talk through these listed reports, and then February, we'll go over CIP.
Yeah.
Proposed.
That sounds good.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, anything else on the financials from anybody? I know, have the books closed for last year? 'Cause I know the numbers usually true up around this time of the year.
They do, and we are actually currently shuffling finance staff. We've had an interim director. She was just recently announced as the new finance director for the city of Merriam. So we're working on
Another interim.
Yeah, actually, we're working on a non-interim solution for that. So just wanted to pass along that there is some transitioning staff there. So things might be trickling behind a little bit. Yes, this is about the time you'd see that true up, as we do for the special sales tax oversight committees and things like that. So.
All right.
Lisa, I think Zach announced that today.
Yes, he did. So for the board's information, it's already gone out to council and leadership in an email, but Melissa Cabrera, who has been serving as our budget manager for the past several years, is formally accepted the finance director position as of yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
So she will just be continuing with the city, just in different capacity, and coming up to speed in the director capacity, and probably you will start seeing her at these meetings to report out on the financials.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yep. All right, very good. Anybody have anything else on the financials? Okay. All right, thank you. Municipal services, it says none, anything there to add?
No, we don't have any big policy things. We are, just again, to update you, in the midst of a cost of service study on the sanitary side. So that's something you'll be seeing the results of in the next few months. Just wanted to keep that in the back of your minds, that that is an ongoing project right now.
Okay, very good. IPL,
Item number 1 on there is the GIHA building, and I will punt, if that's okay, down.
to the project.
Because that's really, yeah, I mean, I'm impacted by the project, but not overseeing it, so I'd rather people who know about it.
If you have specific questions, either Rich and I can happily answer them. If you're just looking for overall schedule and where are we do have a construction manager on board. McCown Gordon has been selected as the construction manager for the project. The construction portion of the contract drops for bid on January 6th. Best would get past the holidays so the contractors can actually give it a fair look. So then our guaranteed maximum price is due in February to the city, and then we'll start construction as soon as possible. Preliminary first phase of move-ins into that building would start roughly scheduled in April and completed by August.
Okay.
Roof replacement is nearly completed. And the generator's on order, and the fiber install is underway. The first leg has been completed. We do a redundant feed that
Yep.
I think has just a little bit left to go.
I was impressed when we did the tour after the last meeting. I mean, there's a lot more stuff in there than I expected with all the new furniture and all that kind of stuff done, so.
Yeah, huge savings in the furniture, fixtures, and equipment piece, and a huge step up for. This building is an exception to our facilities inventory. Most of our facilities rain inside when it rains outside, and have hodgepodge Frankenstein furniture. I mean, pick a thing, for instance, and not part of this move, but I cite Central Garage in our street operations unit all the time. They're operating out of an old trolley turn station from 1934. So that's more typical of our building inventory. So while we focus from the utility side and we see this building most, this is very atypical of our typical facilities. So it's pretty exciting, especially from a morale perspective for citywide staff.
Of all the people that are moving out of City Hall building, how much do you anticipate being left there? Will it just be the council?
Council's actually will be investigating options for them to remain on the square. That's their desire. So ultimately, everyone would vacate that facility, and that parcel would be turned over for redevelopment as part of the downtown redevelopment master plan. I don't know if you guys have been following that, but the court piece would probably be the last piece to move, and that piece would be coming to an addition to this facility going out this way.
When they do
In the
public
new
safety
Justice
building.
Center, yes.
Okay. I noticed there's a planning notification sign up here on this property, probably for rezoning, I'm
Yes.
assuming. Okay. So things are moving ahead, it sounds like.
They are moving.
At a snail's pace right now, but once it does pick up.
Once shovels hit the ground, it'll
Yeah.
start moving right along.
Okay, go ahead, Joe, on the other stuff.
So AMI, boy, these are hot mics.
Yeah, they are.
So update on AMI again, if you have specific questions, I'll be more than happy to answer if I can. Right now, we've identified the project team that's going to look at the RFP that was issued last time, try to refresh that, look it over, and looking for probably a January timeframe to get that out to hit the streets, so then we can get information on what different vendors would be providing and allowing. And then once we decide on that, and I would say collectively as a city, not just IPL, but as we decide that, then we could go out for an RFQ and start talking about pricing, time frame, and all those things down the line.
Well, as this thing progresses, I know I'd like to leave that item on every month, just to kind of get an update. And if there's anything this group can do to participate in any of that, please include us.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, we're just at information gathering
Yeah.
right now, so.
Yeah, it's a little bit early.
The stack removal, we have, it went to council and they approved the hiring of an EPC contractor, which is engineer, procure, construct, which in this cases really deconstruct, right? Because they're tearing it down. So we've hired Burns and McDonald to help us through that process. So that contract is not for the demolition of it, it's just for the engineering and the project management and oversight of it. They've taken down like over 70 stacks at facilities, much like the size of ours. So their professionalism and their background is going to be very well fit for this.
And this
So-
was an item in the capital.
Yeah, it's actually been in the capital project list for several years, and it's kind of been a low priority. We do an annual survey of that stack to make sure it's not just gonna fall down or anything, and it's been safe and secure, but the longer we push it down the road, the more expensive it's gonna become, and we know that that facility's not gonna operate again, especially on coal or anything else. So it's time to take it down.
If
and
it does
move
just fall
forward.
down, wouldn't that be cheaper on the removal?
It depends on which way it falls
Yeah,
down.
exactly, exactly. Always looking to save some money. I was just curious.
Yep.
Okay,
So under capital projects, that's what the 1.5 is for the chimney demolition,
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's for the whole project, right? So what-
including the,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think we just approved about 300,000 for that EPC. So once they will put together a bid package as well and go out for contractors to actually perform the work. When that comes back, that'll be another item, another contract that we will take to the city council for approval.
well, with it
Once we
having
have that information.
asbestos in it, that's just gonna,
It needs to be done safely and
yeah.
securely, and that's why we wanted to put extra special attention on it and not just let it fall down.
Okay. Any questions for IPL?
yeah, I've got one. When you put the team together to work on AMI, are they gonna be, when do they start talking about where the money's gonna come from? Is that part of that group?
No, this group is more I would say the technology side and the solution side
Okay.
and how it's going to be, because there's several different, and we've talked about this in this meeting, several different technologies available today on, for one, how the AMI system collects data and even the meters themselves. And so they're more on the technology side of what things do we need to do on our side? How is the network architecture going to be set up? How is the software, hardware, how's it going to interface with our customer service billing and those types of things? That's that team. The dollars really will sit in the financial wheelhouse, especially once I get a finance manager on board, and then it'll be a cooperative project, right, with the water department, and we'll talk as a whole, as a city, of how do we want to approach, how much of this project do we want to bond? Do we have anything in reserves that can help cover the cost? And those types of things, I think, will be at a later date once we have the full price of the project and then the payback.
Okay.
And there were original cost splits in the last visitation of the AMI project. Percentages assigned to each of the three utilities to pay to that project. So those will be obviously our starting point, but will be revised and revisited as necessary to make sure they're still reflective of fair shares of the project.
I guess I forgot it was a split. I was just thinking it was all IPL, but it's not.
No, the water meter portion was significant. The sewer side was the least impacted from a cost perspective, but sewer is done based on water meter reads, so obviously not the infrastructure heavy piece, so less money
You use the
involved.
data, but you're not actually
Correct.
collecting it yourself.
Yes.
And the only other thing I'd like to kind of mention is if we can still, when they get the team together, when they start looking at, the vendors, if we can kind of keep in mind an analog opt-out, that companies that will allow analog opt-outs. I just want to have that kind of as a continuing discussion too. That's all I've got.
Okay. Anthony, anything? Brad?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. Assistant City Manager, still none? Nothing?
Nothing other than what we've already
Right.
discussed. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Any questions for the Assistant City Manager? Okay. Now we're down to board member comments. I've got a few I'm just gonna throw out. I'm thinking about going into January, we're gonna be starting a new calendar year, not new fiscal year for you, but calendar. And Joe had said something about taking a strategic plan to the council, I think in January, was that right, Joe?
Yeah, so the first study session in January.
I think from the PUAB perspective, I'd like to work at the January meeting on setting some strategic items between us and the various entities, just so as we move forward, we've got kind of a roadmap, so we kind of know what we're working towards instead of just each meeting, something different flies out, so.
I'd rather ask this question now. Then when we get to our January meeting, obviously our January meeting will be after the first council meeting. So is that something that you guys would like, an email, a special meeting, an early meeting? Any preference there?
Well, I think
as a preview?
I'd like to see the strategic plan that gets presented to council, because what we do will tie into the strategies you all have set.
Okay.
So I don't think it has to be done before that. I think we'll take that material and work off of it to set our strategic items. That makes sense to everybody, or? Instead of trying to come up with our own and then they're totally different than what you all pick, then we have to have Jared arm wrestle somebody. So, but I think it just makes sense to kind of see what strategic plans you all lay out and then see how we tie into those.
Okay. And maybe we add that as an obviously talking point for the February meeting as
Yes.
well, following that.
Yep, yeah. And then I'd also want to take a look at the bylaws and the charter, because we've got a certain purview here as the PUAB. We've got some new members. We've got a really new member that hopefully will be here in January. So I just want to make sure we're all aware of what the purview is for PUAB based on the charter. Take a look at our bylaws and just some highlights of the bylaws. We'll do that in the January meeting. And then one of the things too, I know the charter calls for an annual report from the PUAB, which will probably be like a one-page greatest hits type thing. And I'm going to work on that between now and our next meeting. So at that meeting, I'll hopefully have had it out to you all for discussion and see if it's okay to go ahead and send it up to council. And we'll kind of start doing that as part of this. But the charter does recall for an annual report, and I can't recall ever having one. So we'll put something together, but I'll take a look at the old meeting minutes and to jog my memory and put something together from that, just the things we've worked on and some of the discussions we've had. So, anything else? Any other comments? Hearing nothing. Okay, well, our next meeting then is on January 16th of 2025. My agenda says 24, but so 25, January 16th. So, looking for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody, and have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Right.